It's wonderful to see you all this morning. How are you? This morning, we're talking about mornings. We're talking about how to consciously create the best morning routine ever that will support you throughout your day. As psychologists, we constantly talk about consciously creating your life. I mean, I don't know about you, but often we're on autopilot. We just do what we've always done. We keep on having the same old habits. And creating change, although psychology is all about creating change can be really, really difficult. We kind of keep going back into our normal grooves of behavior, but we need to let ourselves off the hook a little bit. It's all to do with neuroscience. Many of us have, or all of us have, a brain that creates almost neural pathways in our brains that when we feel something or something happens to us, that we start fusing our the sparks of our brain start to create what I call the motorways in our brains. And we have these new motorways through our brains, which say this happens, so this happens. This is how you start your day. This is when someone says that, this is how you feel. And it creates these kind of neural pathways in our brain. So it keeps us kind of doing the same old things. Which, you know, in the ancient times is really, really useful. You see a lion, you run away from it. But what we want to do differently, I think, is to start creating new pathways in our brains, new ways of thinking that can support us in better ways, rather than just be reacting to life, that we can start creating our lives. And the great news is all the new science that's come up in the last 20 or 30 years or so is showing that the brain is plastic. The brain it's called neuroplasticity. I can never say it. Neuroplasticity, but it means when we think new thoughts, we can create new neural pathways in our brain. And one of the great things around this is that it means we can consciously make it easier for us to react to life, rather than finding ways that we're constantly fighting against our own conditioning. So one of the easiest ways, I think, to be able to do that is to start the day as you mean to go on. So consciously creating your life is a great concept. But how do you do that, and where do you start? So where I would suggest that you could try and start was consciously creating your morning, your wake-up routine. So what is your current wake-up routine? And again, oh my goodness, I don't know if you've been watching that documentary on Netflix called something about, it's called Social Network or Social Experiment. I can't remember what it's called, but it's about how all of the phone people have got together to make it so addictive to be on your phone. So for example, if you're taking your phone to bed with you and scrolling, it's so addictive, and somebody else is controlling your life. I've met so many of our friends who said they watched that documentary and then they've got rid of all the apps on their phones. I mean, again, phones and the internet they're so amazing, it's brilliant, but not if it's controlling you. So it's about how do you take back control of your thinking about how your life is. So I want to suggest that you take control of your morning, your wake up routine. How do you wake up every morning? So I in the magazine this month, I've written about my experience with Wim Hof. I had the pleasure of interviewing him. He's the Iceman, and he has this breathing routine. He's got this breathing app. So I know it's my phone and I know it's an app. But oh my God, it's absolutely unbelievable. So I've been taking cold showers. I've been, using this breathing technique, which is sort of I've been doing 40 deep breaths 3 times, and then you hold your breath, and there's a whole routine to it. And I've been feeling really energized and full of energy and creative. The other thing that I always do, I've got my journal, and every morning I do 3 pages. I don't know if you can see 3 pages of morning pages. So that was I interviewed Julia Cameron earlier in the year, who is amazing, but she wrote a book called The Artist's Way. And I have been doing the morning pages probably for about 10 years now. And the idea is, so I think a lot and I'm in my head a lot, which is great, and it served me well, and I'm the editor of a magazine, and I have to think a lot and I have to come up with lots of ideas. But sometimes if my thoughts kind of get a little bit out of control, I can kind of convince myself I've got a big imagination. It sometimes is not great. So to do morning pages, which is 3 pages of just dumping your thoughts, doing a vomit, I call it a thought vomit on the page. And because I am the editor of Psychology, I think, oh my goodness, I have to be positive and all of these things. But sometimes I'm really negative in the morning. I'm sure it's just blood sugar. But so for me to be able to just vomit all my negativity, all my nonsense on the page, and by the time I've got to the 3rd page, I'm feeling a lot better. I'm almost coaching myself out of it. But it's allowing and acknowledging how I feel. So, Julia Cameron talks about building a relationship with yourself. So it's wonderful to, when you're doing it on the page, you're seeing how you feel. You're going, oh yeah, oh, I can see why you might be triggered by it. You notice how you're feeling, and then you get it out. So that's really good. And then I've been doing my Wim Hof breathing, which is physiologically is like oxygenating, I can't say it, my body. If you look on Psychology's TV, you'll see my interview with him, and he tells us why breathing in that way can really help us with our mind and our thinking, and just with generally our mental health. And I know we've just come through lockdown, and they're talking about another lockdown. I was poorly for a couple of weeks, as I haven't felt too great, and I realized what it feels like. It feels so awful to be sick and to be feeling low and all of those things. And what I stopped doing was my usual things. I stopped doing my journaling, I stopped doing my breathing, I stopped doing my meditating. So for you, what are the things that that do yourself make yourself feel great, but you stop doing it? So I want you to experiment this week with trying to create a morning routine. Don't make it ridiculously hard, but things that will make you feel great. I mean, some people get rid of their phone completely and wake up with an alarm clock. I quite like my phone because I've got Insight Timer on there, which is like a meditation app. So I've just discovered doing lots of visualizations. And again, sometimes in the morning, it's so great just to plug in and to listen to an amazing, wonderful meditation that makes you feel really good. If you're not feeling, sometimes in waking up in the morning, and I normally do something called transcendental meditation, which is all about noticing my thoughts. And if I'm feeling a bit grumpy, I really don't want to notice my thoughts. So being able to redirect my thoughts into a kind of more nurturing soundtrack my life really, really helps. So visualization has helped me, although I have done meditation for years. Transcendental meditation is the one that works for me. Work on my thoughts by writing them down in my journal has been really great. I know other people light a candle and set an intention of the day. Some people pray. Some people have flowers by wellness routine. Our wellness routine can become a kind of another thing of list to do. I want your morning routine to fill you full of energy, to make you feel fantastic, to give you lots of ideas of how to, feel really positive about the day. So what would that look like? So start really small. Maybe start with a 3-minute routine. There's a really amazing book called The Miracle Morning. That's a really good book to read, or just Google lots of different ways. If you're really struggling with ideas, find lots of different ways that you can do this. So I really hope that you can experiment this week with creating an early morning routine that wakes you up in a way that makes you feel fantastic. Okay, lots of love, everybody. Have a fantastic week and experiment with your Monday morning routine.